half Iranian, I'm half American. I live here in San Francisco. I'm a big soccer fan, so that's one of my passions, and I'm a Manchester United fan. It's a club I support. So I was actually born here in the United States in Southern California. My father's Iranian, my mom's American, but I did reverse immigration. So when I was about 10 years old, I moved to Iran. My family decided to make the decision to move us there. I was in about sixth grade at the time. I remember moving to Iran. I didn't speak the language, didn't know the culture very well. I first arrived, within that first week, I was placed into an all Farsi speaking school. And that was very traumatic because I remember not understanding what was happening in school, not understanding, the curriculum. So it was very difficult that first year. So then my mom decided for us to immigrate back to the United States after that first year. So now I was 1 to 7th grade. But when we immigrated back to the United States, we moved to a very small rural town in California. And then again, I was very displaced because I was the only person with a multicultural background in that school. But we lived in the US for another 2 years. And then we decided to move back to Iran. Now I'm a teenager, so about 15. So it's my ninth grade going back. And we went back to that same school. So again, there was the fear of going back to the school, trying to fit in. After being there for 2 more years, my mom again decided to move back to the US. And my dad stayed, so we're a split family at that time. So I moved back to that small town, and I was 16 at the time, so I was a junior. And this is right around the time that 9/11 happened. So again, being one of the only multicultural students in a school in America, there was a lot of racism happening at that time towards Middle Easterners. So I didn't feel welcomed at all. I mean, I think it created a lot of resilience in me, being able to kind of survive that process and not allow it to impact me too much. To be honest, it's taken a lot of healing and therapy to actually revisit kind of the trauma of moving back and forth. But at the same time, it's allowed me to really appreciate other cultures, which is really important, and have empathy for others because you never know what situation they're going through and the hardships they're going through it. So I think it gave me a lot of perspective on the world. I've always wanted to work with the refugee and immigrant community because of my shared story and my shared experience, having been an immigrant myself. So it was always something that was important to me. I did a lot of mentoring at my job, but I've never done one-on-one mentoring with somebody from that community. Having had that experience and having had the experience of not feeling welcomed in either the US or Iran, and having felt displaced and feeling frustrated because I don't speak the language, I wanted to, be part of a community that creates a safe place for individuals that are immigrating to the United States. And I think it's so important for us to realize what struggle people went through to get here, and that they're trying to create a better life for themselves and their family. So I just really wanted to be part of a community that creates a welcoming and safe environment. And luckily, I came across RIT that creates that community, which is extremely special. And I had the opportunity to become a volunteer and to be placed with, an incoming student. I hope that I'm able to create a safe environment for him, that he knows that he belongs, because I know how it feels like to not belong in a place, and to create a safe environment where he could come to me with questions, whether it's about learning English or about getting help with his schoolwork, or just to have a mentor. I think is really important. And I think it's the minimum I could be doing right now in the environment we're in. So I just wanted to kind of show up for that community and be a part of it. Yeah, so I'm a RA tutor, and I'm working one-on-one with a RIT student. I've been working with them for about 8 months now. He is originally from El Salvador and is a refugee here in the United States. I feel very lucky and very privileged to be working with him. And, our main focus is on him learning English because that's what he wants to focus on. And the fact that he's going into his sophomore year, so he's about 15 years old. I really resonate with his experience due to the fact that that was the same age I was when I was immigrating to Iran. And I can connect with him about feeling the frustration of being in a school that is in a foreign language. Yeah, I think his experience is different than mine right now due to the fact that the current political climate we're in is very negative towards immigration into refugees. And we're outwardly trying to, or our government is actively trying to, push these people out of communities. So I think there's a lot of fear for him. There's a lot of fear for him going out and being part of the broader community. Imagine the difficulty he's going through and that challenge. But I really admire his resilience because he has created a community for himself. He's on the soccer team. He plays soccer on the weekends. His goal this summer is to get better at riding his bike. He wants to be able to do a wheelie on his bike. So he has such resilience and still upbeat. And he's showing up every week with a smile on his face to learn English. As a child, I really struggled with my identity because it was so difficult. I felt so out of place in both countries and didn't feel like I belonged in both countries. And anyone in America would just see a brown child and be like, "You're not American," because my name is Karim. They don't think I'm American, even though my grandfather was in World War II for the U.S. My lineage goes all the way back to the Civil War period, and that they fought for the North. But then in Iran, it was the reverse. I was not Iranian, even though my dad was Iranian, and you automatically get citizenship in Iran if your father's Iranian. But I was an American. I wasn't fully accepted there either. So it was very difficult as a child, and I felt very out of place. I'm very proud to be an Iranian American. I feel, proud that I'm connected to both countries. A few different ways that I celebrate my Iranian American heritage. One is, the Persian New Year, the Iranian New Year, which happens every spring. So it's the first day of spring, the spring equinox. So that's a big celebration. And my wife is fully Iranian, and she actually immigrated here when she was 16. So celebrating that with her family. The other one, I think, for celebration of my American culture is, I love Thanksgiving due to the fact that it's not very focused on material things, and it's really about family. And again, that's kind of a connection with Iran because Iran's all about family and about friends. So, having Thanksgiving, I always try, we host it at my house. Try to make sure I always invite friends or that don't have a place to go and try to create a community around there and try to share some of my traditions that I grew up with. So, celebrating both traditions on both sides and being proud of traditions on both. And I think being openly confident to talk about my experiences in Iran and explain to people that Iran's a very beautiful country and it's a very beautiful culture because there's so much negativity around there, and just educating people. And I think the best way to educate people is through celebrations, through feeding them. So I've learned how to cook Iranian food from my mother-in-law. So I really enjoy cooking Persian food for people. So that's how I kind of like to, share with my community my cultural background. The United States definitely benefits from immigration and migration into the United States. I think it's so important for us to accept people from other countries. I mean, we're a country founded on immigration, right? And I think it's very important for people to remember that every single person who's immigrated here, or every single refugee that has migrated here, did so in order to have a better life, to prosper, and to live their life with integrity. So I think we have to have a lot of empathy for the different cultures that are here and be open to learning about that. Because I think as a society, when we open up and are open-minded to different cultures, we're able to grow as individuals and as a society. And I think that's extremely important. It makes us a lot more of a rich society. And I think it really creates a unique environment for all of America. And I think all the people that here, they're all working hard. We're all trying to navigate the complexities of life and trying to do that with integrity. And I think we need to remember that. I think it really benefits America because all these people are really hardworking and they're all trying to you know, live between two worlds, but do it with grace, and which they are, and they're being a very great part of our community. I remember in the summer times, it'd get really warm. And one of the things I really enjoyed doing once I got confident of, exploring the city on my own was going to the bazaars, the local bazaars. And there's so much activity happening there and just seeing the different type of stores there. I think one difficult memory I have of immigration was the sense of not belonging. And that actually happened my first day in school in Iran when I was in sixth grade. I remember it was the middle of the year. I was, all the schools are for boys, it's all boys schools. And I remember sitting in the classroom and not understanding anything the teacher was saying and not understanding, I couldn't read the writing that he was writing on the chalkboard and I'm feeling completely out of place. And I remember fear and anxiety rising up inside of me. I was like, I'm in the wrong place. I don't belong here. My parents couldn't have put me here. They made a mistake. And just realizing that it was going to be very difficult resonates with me today of just, that memory of fear, of feeling out of place, and just a complete uncertainty. I think there were certain times where I felt connected to a community. I remember in the U.S. when I immigrated back to the States and I was in that rural town, I had one teacher that was kind of the troublemaker in the school, and they were always trying to get him fired, but he was very open-minded. And I remember when 9/11 happened, he came to me and pulled me aside and he told me, like, hey, if anyone gives you a hard time, let me know. And I remember that was very emotional for me because I felt so out of place and I felt so ridiculed in school. So to have a teacher that just kind of, saw me and knew my struggle, I think was really impactful and made me feel very accepted. So that was like very special there. I felt very like inclusive in the community. Yeah, I think RIT is a great organization, and I feel very blessed to be able to be a volunteer and be a part of this community and the RIT family because it gives, recent immigrants and refugees an opportunity to be placed one on one with a mentor and to have that sense of belonging and to have a safe place where they feel like they could go to someone and talk to them. And it might not happen right away, but at least they know that someone is stepping up and trying to be present for them. And I think that's really important. I wish I had that when I was in Iran, to have somebody that I could go to or someone that's, proactively trying to help me and try to connect with me. I hope the impact I'm having on my student is helping him, and, I text him and I'll send him highlights of a soccer game and he texts me back just to stay in touch in between our meetings. So again, just creating that sense of belonging and letting them know they're welcome. And that's the work RIT is doing, is letting everyone know they are welcome. They are part of the society. And I think that's so important. So my hopes and dreams is that we could have a society where people are more open-minded, are more welcoming, so they could also experience the richness of other cultures because it's so amazing, all the different cultures around the world, and it could help us grow as individuals and as a community. So, I have hope and I think there's silver lining because I think in the current political environment, there's a lot of individuals that are stepping up, even though maybe our government is stepping backwards. And that gives me a lot of hope is the individuals that are and organizations like RIT that are stepping up and doing the hard work and are the boots on the ground. And I'm very thankful and I see a lot of hope in that. I think one message I would want to give to myself during my immigration periods was that it's okay and that you are accepted, you do belong, and that it's okay to sometimes know that it's difficult, to feel sad at times, to not suppress your feelings. And it's okay that, there's difficulties in that migration, but you will be okay. And to embrace the multicultural, because that will bring richness in your life in the future. and just really that you belong and never feel out of place, even though it might be hard. Always know that you belong and you're part of the greater society.